So Louis the 15th, about a generation before the French Revolution, famously said, "After me, the flood." After this guy, there's gonna le deluge. I think it's Apres Moi, le deluge. Now, Trump represents the patriarchy, as is commonly said by young women who are now going to go on the attack. And you saw that Congressman Mace come out, broken down, had a nervous breakdown in the Capitol. And these victims are going to go after the whole Epstein list. And either he's going to go away for one reason or another, right? Because he's clearly part of it. He's clearly part of some sort of mafioso operation that runs this country. And that's what's going to be revealed. Now, if he goes away because of the 25th Amendment or congestive heart failure or impeachment or whatever, we get J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is a douche. And when the patriarchy, this is coming very quickly. This could be in the next couple of weeks. This could be in 6 to 9 months. As the patriarchy ruptures, gets torn apart, it's going to affect the financial markets. Now, here's a couple things to think about. It's been announced that in the fall of this year, which is like now, the Treasury is going to create a mortgage company. And I want you to put your memory banks on and remember Jim Cramer going at the beginning of the great financial crisis. It was a mortgage crisis, right? Think of this. Here we are, what? It was 2008 or 15, however many years later. The U.S. government is going to have to nationalize the mortgage market, just like it just nationalized Intel. Why? Because there isn't one. There isn't going to be a mortgage market. What do you mean? So most likely what's happening here this fall is they're going to have to allow rates to sort of find their own home. Because what they're doing right now is Ponzi finance. They issue treasuries, the money comes in the account, and they buy treasuries. And they're trying to just go, look, how they've been holding the 30-year below 5%. At some point, they're going to let that go, okay? The trillions and trillions that are going to come due. And again, the white male network that's run America since Reagan is about to go poof and disappear in front of your eyes. Like Jim Cramer saying they know nothing. The whole infrastructure of the American system is about to get set on fire. Now let's do tech. Who did Jeffrey Epstein work for? There's a guy in Columbus, Ohio, where all the tech companies are building the Magnificent Seven that are worth $20 trillion, which is more than all the stock markets of the G7 combined. That whole thing is directly connected to the Magnificent Seven and Jeffrey Epstein through Leslie Wexner. Jeffrey Epstein built New Albany. So, hold on, this gets better. There's no growth for the 493 other companies in the S&P 500. The valuations are very, very stretched, and there's no dividends. There's 1% dividends. The whole stock market is AI. That's all the stock market is AI. There's nothing there. When this guy, who's like the 80s guy, right? He's like the guy that came out of the Reagan Revolution, and he's gauche, and he, flakes around New York, and we've all heard the story of, the young women and Epstein and the one that looks like his daughter. Okay? So we could just be weeks away for something, the Great Financial Crisis was triggered by about $1 trillion in bad mortgages. It was like $800 billion. this is now $100 trillion problem because the very faith and credit of the U.S. government, as Catherine Austin Fitts says hilariously, she said the problem with the government is there isn't one. That's what's going to be revealed by these by the unraveling of the Epstein situation. America is run by a kind of mafia. All of it, from Hollywood to Washington, D.C., to Wall Street. It's really not an investable thesis. Hold on, it gets worse. So I love this word gigantomachy. It's a word that I stole from Oswald Spengler. So we're going to have this gigantomachy, this battle of the titans. Okay? And these people are going to fucking lose. The old white conservative men that have been driving liberalism, neoliberalism, or whatever it is, on both parties, Bill Clinton, they're best friends with the Trumps and the Clintons. That whole thing is just going to go poof. And coming underneath it are these women, these young women, inside Congress, outside Congress. Thomas Massey said today that he and his fellow Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene may actually do the work of naming the names from the list of victims because they can do it on the Senate and congressional floor because they're immune. They have immunity. So it's always been my belief that when you look at the financial markets, they work until they don't work anymore. And that's based on perception, just psychology. Well, the psychology caused a woman who went to the Citadel to have a nervous breakdown in the fucking Capitol building, listening to the victims of Epstein. And it's just started, folks. It's just getting started. So, after him, the flood. J.D. Vance and his tech goons are going to try to install, and they've to great effect. What I would have you think about is, if the connection is made between big tech, Palantir, Wexner, and Epstein, it's fucking over. Like, the stock market will be turned off. I'm not literally turned off, but there's nothing there. They are attempting, if you do your homework on what general artificial intelligence, or sometimes called artificial general intelligence, really is, it's a mistaken idea that computers can have consciousness. It's a misunderstanding of what AI really is. There's a real good article right now in the Wall Street Journal about how China uses AI different than us. I'd encourage you to go find it. Alex Karp, who's this guy who wrote this book, The Technological Republic, is doing something that is a lot like Marxism. He's arguing that the West is like a flawed, failed system. And the only way to rescue the West, all the neocons talk like this, is to basically destroy it and set up, that's why they're called neoconservatives. They're not real conservatives. They have this thing where they're like, they understand postmodernism like Jordan Peterson talks about it, and they're going to get us back on the right track. Their Karp is installing something that is a lot like Bolshevism. It's a utopian misunderstanding of how the world works. And after this guy, there's going to be nothing holding them back. And even this month, TikTok we're going to have a nice lady from the IDF keeping track of us. So after Trump, the flood.